All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are completely decoding the massive, invisible web that surrounds us all, the Internet of Things, or IoT. We interact with it every single day, usually without even realizing it. But, how does a tiny sensor out in a farmer's field securely talk to a cloud server thousands of miles away? And how do literally millions of these devices manage to communicate without completely crashing our networks? Well, that is exactly what we're going to unpack. So let's dive right in.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1, the birth of IoT, 2, consumer versus industrial IoT, 3, the IoT architecture layers, 4, speaking the language, which is all about protocols, and finally 5, how 5G enhances IoT.
All right, Section 1, the birth of IoT, from vending machines to a connected world. We really got to start our journey by looking at the totally fascinating origins of connected devices, way before they were, everywhere. It is honestly wild to think this whole thing started with a thirsty programmer back in the 1980s. A bunch of university students actually hooked up a Coca-Cola vending machine to their local network, literally just to check if there were cold drinks available before they walked down the hall. That basic, everyday desire for convenience, it sparked a revolution. Fast forward to 1999, and British tech pioneer Kevin Ashton officially coined the phrase Internet of Things while working with RFID tech. And then, as we rolled into the 2000s, the massive explosion of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth took IoT from this neat theoretical concept to a practical, real-world phenomenon.
So here's the crucial thing to remember. IoT is not just about putting a touchscreen on a refrigerator. At its absolute core, it is about the interconnection of smart objects that have embedded sensors, onboard data processing, and communication capabilities. They sense the physical world around them and then relay that information completely independently of any human intervention. There's this fantastic quote from our sources that really hits the nail on the head. It says, IoT represents a powerful shift toward a more connected and intelligent world, where devices act independently to improve quality of life and business outcomes. And I think that just brilliantly captures the ultimate goal here. We're moving away from clunky machines that just wait around for us to push a button, toward automated, highly intelligent networks that actually anticipate what we need. Which brings us to Section 2, Consumer versus Industrial IoT. Two sides of the connected coin. Let's look at how this tech is actually applied out in the wild. Because look, a smart fridge is vastly different from a smart factory. On one side, we've got consumer IoT. This is your smart speaker, your connected light bulbs. It's all about convenience, right? It operates in nice, predictable home environments, usually leaning on short-range Wi-Fi or a Bluetooth. If your smart bulb loses connection for a second, well, no big deal. But on the flip side, we have industrial IoT, or IIoT, and this is an entirely different beast. Industrial environments demand extreme operational efficiency and absolute mission-critical reliability. You're bridging the gap between standard IT networks and operational technology, the actual heavy machinery running a factory floor. If a sensor fails here, it could literally halt production or cause a massive safety hazard. Because the stakes are just so incredibly high in the industrial world, the architecture relies heavily on something called edge gateways. Instead of sending every single data point all the way to some distant cloud server, which obviously takes time, edge gateways step in as this crucial middleman. They sit right there on the factory floor, collecting machine data, translating complex industrial protocols, and processing all that critical info locally to prevent any dangerous delays. So how exactly does that data travel? Let's jump into Section 3, the IoT architecture layers, the journey of a data packet. Let's trace the exact step-by-step architectural journey of just a single piece of data. Think of this as the life cycle of a temperature reading in a smart greenhouse. Step 1, data collection. The sensor physically gathers the info. Step 2, transmission. It shoots that data over a network, maybe via Wi-Fi or cellular. Step 3, processing. The data gets crunched either locally at the edge or up in the cloud, where an algorithm goes, hey, it's getting too hot in here. And finally, step 4, action. The system executes a command to automatically open a ventilation window. Boom, automated service. But to handle the massive tsunami of data generated by billions of these devices constantly running through these steps, modern IoT leans on a concept called system disaggregation. Basically, instead of building these massive, clunky, all-in-one monolithic systems, engineers are breaking the architecture down into modular Lego-like components. By decoupling the compute, storage, and networking layers, organizations get massive flexibility. If you suddenly need more storage, you just snap on more storage without having to tear down and rebuild your entire network.
Now that we've got this structure down, how do these devices actually talk to each other? That brings us to section 4, speaking the language, protocols, and how devices communicate.
Different tasks naturally require different languages. Check out the web-like structure of a Zigbee mesh network here. Zigbee is absolutely incredible for low-power, short-range communication. Think smart home lighting. You've got a central coordinator managing routers, which then manage battery-saving end devices. But instead of every single device trying to shout all the way back to the main hub, they dynamically route data through one another. It's quite literally like runners passing a baton in a relay race.
And for even shorter distances, we have Bluetooth Low Energy, or BLE. The engineers basically took classic Bluetooth and stripped it right down to the studs, creating this highly optimized architecture split into controller and host layers. By simplifying the protocol and using a very clever sleep/wake cycle, BLE saves massive amounts of battery power. That makes it the absolute gold standard for things like wearables and healthcare monitors.
But what if you need to reach further, or you require absolute bulletproof reliability? Well, depending on the need, developers have a whole toolkit at their disposal. They might go with MQTT, which is a lightweight, publish-subscribe system originally cooked up for the oil and gas industry. So it's absolutely perfect for reliable industrial messaging. Or if you need to connect a bunch of agricultural sensors across hundreds of acres and barely use any battery, you'd probably use LPWN, low-power wide area networks. And for firing off quick, burst-like small messages, you might use the push-pull models of Dash 7. Now, with all these different devices chattering away, you might be wondering, how on earth do billions of them coexist on the internet without us just running out of IP addresses? We used to rely on IPv4, which maxed out at about 4.3 billion addresses, which, sure, sounds like a lot, until you realize we currently have over 20 billion connected devices. The game changer was upgrading to IPv6. This bumps us up to a 128-bit address space. To put that into perspective, that translates to 3.4 times 10 to the 38th power of available addresses. That is insane. It's literally enough to give a unique IP address to every single atom on the surface of the Earth. Plus, it has security built right in. With the address problem totally solved, we arrive at our final piece of the puzzle. Section 5, how 5G enhances IoT. The future of connectivity. A few milliseconds. That is the latency rate of 5G. Latency is just the delay between sending a piece of data and getting a response back. With older networks, a slight lag was totally fine if you were just buffering a YouTube video, but it is completely unacceptable if a machine needs to react instantly to avoid a crash. By dropping that latency down to almost zero, 5G suddenly makes real-time autonomous driving and lightning-fast industrial robotics a safe, viable reality. But here's the thing. 5G isn't just about sheer speed. It's a total game changer for network congestion. By using higher frequency bands, 5G allows a massive number of devices to connect and reliably talk at the exact same time, even in really dense signal-blocking industrial spaces. It was specifically built from the ground up to efficiently handle those millions of tiny data packets that IoT sensors constantly churn out, without clogging up the airways for the rest of us. And here is a totally counterintuitive takeaway. You'd probably think this ultra-fast, high-capacity 5G would just chew through batteries, right? Actually, scratch that. It's the exact opposite. Because 5G transmits those small data packets so incredibly fast, a sensor can wake up, fire off its data, and go right back to sleep in a fraction of the time it used to take. That drastically cuts down their active operational time, which significantly prolongs battery life and cuts down on environmental waste. It's a win-win. The possibilities of combining 5G and IoT are just limitless. But it does leave us with one major, provocative thought to chew on. As 5G empowers literally billions of new devices to execute mission-critical tasks completely autonomously, we're talking everything from our cars to our hospitals to our power grids. Is our global infrastructure actually prepared to secure this massive new attack surface? As we wire up the entire planet, solving that security challenge is going to be the true ultimate test of the IoT era. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.